everyone, Sri Lanka. Welcome to my channel, guys. Adam Ravel. If you're new, please consider subscribing below. And for this video, we'll be watching Geography Now, Sri Lanka. I've been waiting for this video to be dropped on their official YouTube channel. I actually really love their contents, and since a big chunk of my subscribers is from Sri Lanka, I thought that I would definitely react and watch this. By the way, if you are viewing this via the premiere, which is live actually, you can chat with me, on the chat box, okay? With that being said, I'll be putting the link in this video in the description box just in case you want to watch it for yourself. Here we go. Okay, there it is. Geography Now, Sri Lanka. Let's start.
Hey, I'm your host Barbs. Get a Geography Now mug and Geography Now shirt at geographynow.com. Not selling out, it's my brand. Few countries on Earth have such a small size with a massive ancient backstory that predates the invention of paper. And as you guys know, I love having people from the countries in the country episode. Today's guest star is going to be
Jamil.
Hopping Sri Lanka.
First of all, what is this you got going on?
This is actually, so if I were to wear this shirt in white and wear my white sarong, that would have considered the national outfit for Sri Lanka.
Oh, wow.
But I had to spice
Okay.
it up, man.
Clearly,
We match it.
Yeah.
We match it.
All right, Jamil, very quickly, what are some things you think the whole world should know about Sri Lanka?
We have the most prettiest girls on earth.
Ooh.
Check. And prettiest guys too. You see this? Hospitality it's at like 308%.
Yes.
And hey, lastly, you're not Indian.
You are not India.
No.
You are not Indian.
Nothing wrong with India though. Hey, I love India.
With that, let's jump into this country that is definitely not India.
Definitely not India. Yeah, a lot of my subscribers would actually tell me that. Pretty in an adamant manner.
Oh, and the best part, y'all know, man, we got a city called Candy. Hey, Candy! Welcome to the candy shop.
First of all, the country is an island nation located in South Asia, situated in the Indian Ocean, south of the Bay of Bengal, just off the southeast coast of India's Tamil Nadu
Yes.
state. The interesting thing is, the country is almost connected to India via the Ramu Setu Bridge, sometimes called Adams Bridge, an incredibly shallow.
That's why sometimes it's called like the
shoals and islands.
teardrop of India or something like that, right?
About 100 meters wide that straddles between India's Pamban Island and Sri Lanka's Mannar Island. The space between Pamban and Mannar, known as the Palk Strait, is only about 25 kilometers wide,
Wow.
with a shallow depth reaching at maximum 10 meters deep. This hinders all large-scale cargo ships from passing through from the Gulf of Mannar in the south to the Palk Bay in the north. At one point, this shallow channel was reportedly passable on foot until a cyclone in 1480 destroyed what little land was above water. Today, any
Oh, that's interesting.
maritime trade must either go completely around Sri Lanka, otherwise land or air transport is the only way around. In any case, the capital is Sri Jayawardenepura Kotte, a neighborhood within the largest metropolitan city of Colombo. Colombo is often mistaken or just default called the capital because it's easier to say, but nope, to be fair, it's Sri Jayawardenepura Kotte. The country is divided into 9 provinces, each with their own little flag, and the 9 provinces are...
I love that it's so graphic and informative too. And yes, I thought for a while that it was Colombo, the capital.
They're divided into 25 districts. The country has 5 international airports, and of course the biggest and busiest one is in Colombo, Bandaranaike International
Bandaranaike
Airport. In addition,
International,
though, the country
okay.
has 20 waterdromes, or airports for seaplanes, throughout the coasts and interior of the country. They are all operated by Sri Lanka Airlines domestic branch called Sri Lankan Air Taxi, with its hub at Colombo's Kelani River Heliagoda Waterdrome. From there, the port of Colombo is not only the largest port of the country, but also the largest transshipment hub in South Asia. The country has a very extensive rail network that reaches almost every part of the country except the sparsely populated southeast, which also has the Yala National Park that no roads or towns can be built on. The rails have 3 main lines: the Colombo operating region lines in the southwest, the Anuradhapura operating region lines in the north and northeast, and the Nawala Pitia operating region lines in the central highlands. Here you can reach the highest destinations of the country, like the famous city of Kandy.
The little Candy Kingdom, and that's for the Westerners, but I'm gonna say it like Nuararaj. Candy is called Nuara, so we say Nuararaj.
Oh, and also, I heard something about the word hotel. It means something different in Sri Lanka. Explain about that.
It's so funny that you caught that. So hotel it could be a sandwich shop, man.
Yeah.
You'd be like, oh yeah, there's a hotel over there.
So,
I made a video about this as well, like I think almost a year ago. Yeah.
if I go to Sri Lanka and I ask for a hotel,
Regarding
you
this
point me to a
information.
cafe.
Depends on what you're looking for and whom you ask.
You have to be specific. Yeah. Now in Sri Lanka, you're going to see a lot of past and present. For example, of course, you have the metropolitan layout of skyscrapers.
It's a Colombo Lotus Tower.
Towers in Colombo or Negombo. But then right in the middle of the city, you'll find statue after statue of Buddha and centuries-old traditional dagobas, I think. That's what I heard. What are they called?
Oh, it's called Bodhia. You know, you're talking about the half dome, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That's the
The
Bodhia.
shrine thing, yeah.
Yeah.
What do you call it? Bodhia?
Bodhia.
Janelle, thank you for correcting me. Oh, and all over you'll see tanks or huevas, I think they're called. They were built by
Man, y'all, he's trying. He says Vevas. It's called a Veva. You know?
Veva.
Veva.
Now explain what is a Veva.
So that's a man-made, pretty much a lake, and they're all over Sri Lanka, man. Depending on the kingdom, you know, each and every single king, Parakrama, I think.
That's what I have written down. Yep, and he built the largest one, the Parakrama Samudra.
Yes, Parakrama Samudra. Damn!
Oh yeah, and fun fact, under that king, Sri Lanka actually for short periods of time actually kind of took over parts of South India and what is now Myanmar. But it wasn't exactly colonizing, it was kind of more like this. We are best friends! Yeah! I am the new king and I'm gonna tax the out of my own people and kill trading envoys from Sri Lanka.
Yeah, we can't have that, so... Okay, so your old king is dead, and we've been managing you guys for a while, but now we're gonna elect a new king. This is the new king!
I was quite surprised by that. With a cute dog.
King!
Hey Sri Lanka, the Chola Empire is like really attacking us hard. A little help?
Sure. Well, we
I love that they're always adding like humor and wit to the, like giving out of the information. And that's what I love about this channel.
defeated the enemy, but your king is dead.
Among
I
other
guess we'll
things.
manage things here until we can find a new king for you. Okay, I found you a new king.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? It's kind of like they could have colonized Myanmar and South India, but we're like, it's easier if we just like raise up a king that would be compliant with our side.
In any case, Sri Lanka has so many projects going on. Colombo has the international financial city. And in the south, you have the controversial Hambanthota Harbor, the second largest port in the country, which is leased out to China for 99 years.
We've discussed this before, but in case you missed it, basically, often my Indian subscribers kind of describe the scenario like this. Oh, hey, Pakistan. Hey, India, what do you have there? Oh, I'm building a port on Gwadar. Oh, cool. It's pretty big. Yeah, it's being funded by the Chinese. Oh. What?
Yep, here to the Philippines. I also made a reaction video regarding this sort of huge mega project.
What have you got there, Myanmar?
I believe port and an oil line in Japan.
Cool.
Oh, and it's also being financed by the Chinese for the Belt and Road Initiative.
Oh, jeez. What about you, Bangladesh? Wait, don't tell me.
Oh, you mean Sonadia Port? No, I scrapped that plan with China a long time ago.
Oh.
Instead, I'm going for Matabari Port. Oh, because it's funded by the Japanese.
Oh.
Because Chittagong was already taken by the Chinese.
What?
By the way, guys, this is my buddy Diogo visiting from Brazil. Hi, guys. So yeah, when Sri Lanka is also in that game, India's kind of like, yeah.
But moving on, Sri Lanka is a land full of mystic sites. They have 8 UNESCO heritage sites, right? 6 man-made and 2 natural. Tourism is a huge part of our country, baby.
Apart from the UNESCO sites, here's Antoinette explaining a few more extra sites that you can check out in Sri Lanka.
Hi guys, I'm Antoinette, coming to you from Quebec, Canada. Alright, there are so many temples and ruins, some of the most notable ones being the Buddha Tooth Relic Temple in Kandy.
Kande is Candy Isala Perahera or something like that. That's the name of the festival, right? I also made a reaction to that before.
Malika Temple in Barrow Lake, Hindu temples in Jaffna and Trincomalee, like the Nelu Kandaswamy Couple,
Wow.
and the Ritigala Buddhist Monastery ruins. You have other places such as the Commonwealth War Cemetery in Kandy, the National Museum of Colombo, the Ella Tea Plantations, the Lotus Tower in Colombo, St. Lucia's Cathedral, the Nine Arch Bridge, the beaches in Higadua and Tanga, the giant tree Mahabodhi, the oldest known planted tree in the world, Adam's Peak, which has a shrimp
My peak, Adam's Peak, okay?
product, or the sacred footprint. Thank you so much, and I hope you get the chance to visit Sri Lanka one day.
And of course,
Definitely.
it is said Sri Lanka has the highest waterfall density in the world.
Wow.
Great waterfall, Gopatala, Ravanala, just to name a few.
And that brings us to the next segment, the
Physical
So as the
geography.
25th largest island on Earth, baby, in a tropical climate, Sri Lanka can hold its ground in maintaining its unique biosphere.
Yes, and one thing you'll notice though is that the element of water is a constant positive thing for almost everything in Sri Lanka.
For one, being situated in the center of the Indian plate gives them the lucky advantage of not dealing with any earthquakes or volcanoes, and also, the country has somewhere around 60 main offshore islands, the largest being Manar Island, which connects to the Ramsatu Bridge. The islands go all the way up to Kachatibu Island, the westernmost point of the country. From there, the country has a unique topographical layout. There are 40 low-lying lagoons and mangrove systems covering much of the coasts at about 7,000 hectares in area. This is known as the coastal belt, aka the lowest parts of the country. The largest system in the north on the Jaffna Peninsula with the Jaffna Lagoon that extends into the Palk Bay. Now, as mentioned, many of the inland bodies of water are man-made, and the largest being the dual complex Kalabalau Reservoir found near the center of the country. It was actually built by King Datusena in the 5th century AD. From there, inland, you reach the plains, which make up the majority of the country's surface area, ranging from about 30 to 200 meters above sea level. This is where the majority of the nation's agriculture and forests are situated and are fed by 103 rivers, the longest one being the Mahaweli, which flows over 200 miles or 335 kilometers from the highest region of the country, the Central Highlands, all the way down to Kotiar Bay near the city of Trincomalee. The Central Highlands, found in the south-central part of the country, which are also in themselves a protected World Heritage Site, is also where you can find the tallest peak, Viduru Talagala, at over 2,500 meters above sea level.
Wow. Guys, question though, like how many days or weeks will it take to like sort of travel all around Sri Lanka? I'm talking about like the, you know, the circumference, the coastal surroundings. Let me know below in the comments, okay, or you know, in the chat box.
And finally, due to the topographic layout of Sri Lanka, the country has 2 climate zones. The plains and valleys of the north, northwest, and southeast are known as the dry zones, classified as tropical savannas with shrub forests, bushes, and even cacti in some of the driest areas. Yet in the highlands and valleys of the southwest, you have the wet zones that receive nearly twice as much rainfall annually, usually in the monsoon season from October to January.
Speaking of water though, Sri Lanka is heavily powered by water, as in over 1/5 of the country is powered by dams and hydropower.
Wow. Okay.
Economically speaking, Sri Lanka has always been a major trading hub, once being the crown jewel of the spice trade, and with the highest literacy rate in South Asia at somewhere around 95%.
That is awesome. Look at him. He's really, really proud. I'm talking about Jenna. What's his name? My apologies.
Yo!
They have top-notch labor.
Yo! That's why we are hard workers. Tea and textiles usually come
They're
to
intelligent
mind when
too.
discussing resources and production.
Tea.
Sri Lanka is currently the 4th largest tea producer and largest tea exporter in the world, beating out Kenya and their most famous domestic brand Dilma. I got Dilma at the house.
I would like to try that out. And by the way, guys, I may be like working in the near future a Sri Lankan-based international tea company here in the Philippines. Hopefully that will sort of push through. I'm collaborating with them in something, you know, it's a project. Of course, I'll keep you posted. So yeah, wish us luck.
I had Dilma before I came. Now that kind of came out really. And the country has about 900 apparel factories, exporting mainly to Europe and the USA for companies like Victoria's Secret, Liz Claiborne, and even Tommy Hilfiger.
In addition, the mining sector is world-renowned. You even have the world's largest blue sapphire, the Star of Adam. So many...
Star of Adam, and I also have my own like mountain or peak. Yeah, you know what? Sri Lanka is like my second home, really.
colors within this country, and one thing that's even more colorful is the wildlife. And with
My
that,
second
it
home
is
country,
very
that is.
hollow with wildlife.
Blimey, look at this puppy right here. The breed is bird. Now, it's no surprise that a tropical island like Sri Lanka, nearly a fifth of all flora and fauna are endemic like the national tree Ceylon iron. The country has over 25 national parks, many with their own specialty, like Delft Island is one of the only few places in the world with wild ponies. Don't ride the ponies. The largest parks, though, are Lupatu and Gala. In these parks lie some of the most fascinating mammal species, like the purple-faced langur, the Sri Lankan sloth.
Oh, there's a Sri Lankan sloth bear. Okay, I didn't know that. A lot of this information are really, really new to me. So yeah, it's awesome.
Bear, the grizzled giant squirrel, and the two animals that are sometimes considered national animals are Sri Lankan elephant and leopard. In fact, Sri Lanka has the largest elephant density in South Asia and has the largest elephant orphanage in the world at Pinawala. Birds are very prevalent here too. Some consider consider the Sri Lankan jungle fowl the national bird. And finally, the south coast of Sri Lanka is famous for being the best spot to not only see
Blue
whales, but
whales.
if you're daring enough, you can actually swim with them. And speaking of swimming with whales, I gotta catch a wave and surf on out of here. This is how you surf in Sri Lanka.
Thank you, Jerry. Yes, whales, the ocean. Once again, the element of water. You've probably seen those images of still fishermen.
Yep, I saw this in a lot of Sri Lankan sort of tourism videos. Yeah, this man like on stilts, on like wooden stilts on the the ocean or in the sea, trying fishing. Absolutely
From
awesome.
National Geographic, right? Yep, that's Sri Lanka.
Oh, and speaking of seafood,
Hey guys, thanks so much for having me on. I am so excited to be here to talk about one of my favorite topics, Sri Lankan food. So seafood plays a huge role in our cuisine. In addition, did you know that cinnamon actually originated
Yep,
in Sri Lanka?
I
And
do.
no shocker,
I
we
do.
are the #1 export of cinnamon around the world.
I love cinnamon.
There's about 10 different varieties, and all of them slightly different in profile, but so good. So I want to get to the list of foods starting with jaggery and lump rice and hoppers and string hoppers and Vedda and puttu and coconut milk rice, more affectionately known as kiribat, with some spicy sambal and some hot milk tea in the mornings is the perfect breakfast item. Egg kothurati or vegetable kothurati, and my personal favorite, mutton kothurati. So good. We have the cashew curry, we have the breadfruit curry, we have just
Now this is making me hungry.
salmon curry, also known as crab curry. Sri Lanka is also known for the famous king coconut. But what it's really used to make is a popular coconut liquor. So excited to be on, so excited to be sharing such an amazing topic with you all. And thanks so much for having me. Have a good one.
Oh, Sri Lankan crab curry. You know,
now you guys know me. I love jackfruit. You guys in the Bangladeshis do it really well.
oh yeah, man.
Well, clearly Sri Lankans are definitely great cooks, and there's a lot of other great things too that Sri Lankans are known for, which brings us to the next part,
Music,
So I asked
demographics.
you guys, what does it mean to be Sri Lankan? And here's some
Okay.
things you guys, the Sri Lankan
About the
geography.
people.
Sri Lankans are very hardworking people. We faced many bad situations in this country. Also, we do not hesitate to help each other when there is a bad situation in our country.
Being Sri Lankan is a blessing. We come from such a small country full of diversity and many ethnic groups. And being Sri Lankan more myself, Sri Lankan Muslim.
I love when it said being Sri Lankan is a blessing. That is powerful.
We've been here for so many years, so many centuries. I hope people learn from the spirit that Sri Lanka is the best place in the world.
I think that the real beauty of Sri Lanka lies within our multicultural, our multi-religious, and our multi-ethnic communities. That's what makes Sri Lanka a special country.
Being of Sri Lankan Tamil descent, it means being proud and grateful to my mother, my father, my grandparents, and my aunts and uncles for protecting me and my cousins from the horrors of the Civil War that raged on for decades, due to their perseverance, and that's something that I will carry for the rest of my life.
So, Janelle, in your opinion, what does it mean to be Sri Lankan?
It is to be able to uphold all the values and everything that my parents have taught me. So there's tiny little nuances that, like, we would actually go down on our knees and touch the feet of my parents, and we would, bow them. Depends on where you grew up. The culture gives you an identity.
Right, because there's a lot of different types of Sri Lankans out there.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yo, you could be Sri Lankan.
Who knows?
If you're Sri Lankan, can he be Sri Lankan?
I'll just put this on.
Yo, I used to wear this, and we eat with our hands too. We don't use.
Oh no, yeah, that's the best way. You gotta feel the food.
Hey. See, I told you he could be Sri Lankan.
Okay. Anyway, with that, let's go to the graph.
First of all, the country has a population of about 22 million people, and they are the oldest democracy in Asia since 1948. The country is primarily made up of the Sinhala at somewhere around 75%, whereas the majority of the rest of the population is made up primarily of Tamils, divided into three groups: Sri Lankan Tamils at a little over 11%, the Moors at about 9%, and the Indian
The
Tamils
Moors are Muslims, right?
at about 4%. From there, the small remaining populace is made up of various people groups like the Burghers, the Malays, the Veddas, Chinese, and so on.
Burgers. Yeah, we'll talk about the burgers later. They use the Sri Lankan rupee as their currency. They use the types D, G, and M plug outlets, and they drive on the left side of the road. former
Yes,
British colony.
sir.
Now, of course, due to the demographic structure, Sinhala, an Indo-Aryan language, and Tamil, a Dravidian language, two completely unintelligible languages, are co-official in Sri Lanka.
However, the prevalence of each one is concentrated in their respective regions. Tamil mostly in the north and northeast, and Sinhala in the center, southeast and west coast, baby.
Nonetheless, official documents must be available in both languages.
Yes.
And wow, they both have incredibly good-looking scripts. Just look at those curves and diacritic vowel indicators. Gotta love me some good Aberdita.
The point is, yes, the scripts look pretty cool.
English is also a nationally recognized language. Now, not everybody can still speak fluent English, but I'll tell you a few things that they know for sure, though. They know Bob Marley, right? They know 50 Cent. They know Coca-Cola.
That's all they need.
That's all they need.
That's all they need.
Exactly. I mean, English pop culture, basically, that teaches, a lot of non-English speaking people, including, me here.
What's crazy is, like, I've been to houses where, they don't speak a word of English.
But they memorize the whole rap.
But they know the raps. Yeah. I'm like, you're really spitting. But you can't even speak a word of English. But, like, they know Peter Andre, Mysterious Girl.
Oh my
They
God,
know all of
I remember that Mysterious Girl from Peter Andre way back, like very, very nostalgic.
it. I'm like, how?
You give a kid a song, they're just going to absorb it.
I suppose my people just soak like a sponge. I mean, woo!
In any case, prior to the British, the Portuguese, Dutch, and almost French all took a jab at trying to control Sri Lanka. This is also partially why you see so many Sri Lankans with Western names and last names, especially with Portuguese. In fact, the three most common last names in Sri Lanka.
Okay, De Silva. I always get a comment with the last name of De Silva. Sorry about the noise outside, you guys. So I guess that explains also Pereira. No, not Pereira, but I would always say like maybe Portuguese or Spanish sounding surnames or last names.
Lanka are Pereira, Fernando, and De Silva.
There you go.
Man, that's
there
so
you
funny.
go. I was right.
Funny because as I was growing up, I read books and there was Fernandos and Pereiras and De Silvas. I'm like,
But it's
but
Sri
you look
Lanka.
like me.
Yeah.
What's this?
Now, faith-wise, the majority of Sri Lankans, almost exclusively to the Sinhala group, are Buddhists belonging to the Theravada branch. In fact, today Sri Lankan Sinhalese are the only non-racially East Asian Buddhist majority ethnic group in the modern world. Basically, a country of brown Buddhists. It was actually brought in over 2,000 years ago by the missionary Mahinda from the Ashoka Empire and mentioned in the Tripitaka. Sri Lanka has the longest continuous history of Buddhism out of any predominantly Buddhist nation on earth. But how did you grow up? What are you?
So I was born and raised a Catholic, and at some point in time,
But
too.
you're Sinhalese, right?
yes, I'm 100% Sinhalese, but I have tons of Buddhist friends, tons of Tamil friends, tons of Muslims, right? Nobody was trying to impose their will on me.
You guys are just Sri Lankans.
That's exactly how I see it too.
And by the way, Buddhism, they take it seriously in the country. It's not a gimmick. What's the one worst thing you can do while visiting Sri Lanka?
Oh, hello, young tourists. How are you enjoying Sri Lanka?
I just love the Buddha. I took all these pictures in front of Buddha, and I wanted to buy a Buddha for my living room. Best thing, I have this little Buddha tattoo, and I just love that he's so
Yeah, I think that's inappropriate.
jolly.
I'm calling the police.
If you have a
Oh, it's
tattoo of
illegal.
Buddha, either get a laser removal or never show it in visiting Sri Lanka. It's considered incredibly offensive and can literally get you in trouble.
Hinduism, though, actually predates Buddhism in Sri Lanka, and the Hindu community is almost exclusively tied to the Tamil group. Specifically, Shaivism, which is the branch that predominantly worships Shiva and venerates Shiva devotees like Ravana. That's kind of the story of Ravana is like a big deal in Sri Lanka, apparently.
Yes, it is, yeah. Apart from
I mean, you really have just to respect the traditions, the cultures, everything. Because of course, as a foreigner going there, it's you really are just you're just a visitor, obviously. So it's not your home. So you have to pay respect.
the Hindus and the Buddhists, there's also the Muslim minority. 90% of whom are Tamil-speaking people called the Moors.
Although if you ask them, some may or may not actually identify as being ethnically Tamil. It's confusing, but yeah.
There is also a noticeable Christian community.
Some sociologists speculate that Christianity may actually have predated colonialism. It's an interesting theory.
Then about 40,000 people, you have the Burghers. There are the people that are essentially the Euro-Asian descendants mixed between Europeans and Sri Lankans. They've developed a unique fusion culture that mixes Europe with South Asia.
And finally, Finally, you have the indigenous Veddas, only numbering today at about 6,000 people. They are considered the original inhabitants of Sri Lanka, predating anyone.
Now, traditionally, they followed a form of animism, and only about 300 people speak the Vedda language today. In Sri Lanka, the one thing you'll notice.
We Sri Lankans, we have really long names. For example, one of the most famous athletes, Warnakula Surya, Patabandigi, Shanta, Joseph, Shamim, the Was. The reason we have really long names, the king used to give
Yes,
title,
and then the occupation, the name, the location.
Sri Lanka.
I made a reaction video regarding Sri Lankan long names, and yes, I totally, sort of, it's giving me a little bit of a memory upon like recording that reaction, because I received a lot of comments, with my subscribers' names, and yeah, it's really, really unique and interesting.
So with names, you can clearly tell that Sri Lanka has a lot of backstory. Part of that backstory involves the obvious dichotomy between the Sinhalese and the Tamil people groups. This is probably the biggest elephant in the room that cannot be avoided. Yes, there was a civil war between the two.
It dates back to 1983. So to make a long story short, it goes that the Tamils wanted a place of origin.
So essentially, it basically boils down to the government versus the Tamil Tigers. There was a move for a separate land for the Tamil minority. Over 100,000 people died or disappeared, and over 300,000 people were in camps for internally displaced peoples. Now, when you ask like who started it or what, it all depends on who you ask, and it's always going to be a biased answer when it comes to that.
Exactly. I know that this was a sensitive topic, although some of you did requested for me to react to that sort of video regarding, the Civil War, and I actually did. I received like various comments.
Oh, there's no right. And you were there kind of during the whole crisis.
I was, and it's so crazy, man. My mom was pregnant with my brother one time,
wow.
just to give you some contrast. And it was only a month after she stopped using the train, there was a bomb. Oh, that was such a small incident. These bombs were going off everywhere. I'm just glad it's over.
So post-war, how would you say, is there generally kind of like a let's move forward feeling in Sri Lanka right now?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's flooded with foreigners, and we obviously need the international revenue coming in. Right?
Yep.
We come from a place where they have a 2,000-year-old written history.
You can't hide that.
That's true.
Well, that was quite a discussion. So much has happened, and they just want to move forward as best they can. And one way they move forward is with sports. And with that, here's Art with the sports.
Whoa.
Cricket.
The cricket ball.
Yep.
Guess what? We're going to talk about it. Now, most textbook sources will tell you that the national sport is
Volleyball.
volleyball, and yes, technically it is. However, cricket is often considered the most celebrated and practiced sport. There have been a lot of records in cricket, and even have the highest team score in Test cricket at 952. I'm going to pretend like I actually know what that means. They won.
Yeah, you and me both. It's like a religion to Sri Lankans, and yes, I did reacted to some cricket videos too.
World Cricket Cup in 1996, making it the only Sri Lanka sport that has ever been crowned a world champion. They even have their own version of March Madness, in which parades and performances dedicated to the opening cricket matches of college cricket season. There's Sri Lankan-style tailgating, after parties, drunken fights between fans and dancing. It's that crazy. So you don't see that kind of treatment with volleyball in Sri Lanka. Otherwise, of course, cricket isn't the only thing going on in Sri Lanka. We have rugby, netball, and Australian rules football, which are all growing in a lot of popularity. Their women's netball team has won the Asian Netball Championship 4 times. 4 times. Everyone in the country knows this lady, known as the Asian Black Mare, who won the only Olympic medal for the country.
Technically, there was another medal when they were under British Sri Lanka.
They have 2 native styles of martial arts, China D, which is like Kung Fu, but more focused on grappling, and Ang Ampora, which is both a body combat and weaponry style that uses things like knives, swords.
That looks so cool, by the way.
And whip blade. And finally, this is not so much a sport, but rather a recreational activity. Sri Lankans are really good at tabletop game Karam. Strangely enough, there's literally a World Cup for this game, and Sri Lanka usually dominates and consistently holds a world champion title.
So that's like a board game, right?
They even hold the dog division as well.
He wasn't watching that ball.
Alright, me and Tarch are going to go play some.
Thank you, Art. We have this pillow fight, which is like pillow fight. Pillow fight. So it's you're sitting on a log, and you just knock each other out until one of them falls down.
And yeah, there's so much other stuff going going on with Sri Lanka's culture. Here to explain a little bit more. Here.
Wait, regarding the pillow fight, I recall reacting to a video from, I think, Wasti Productions, or yeah, I could be wrong. It was sort of like celebrating the Sri Lankan New Year or the Lunar New Year, and that pillow fight game was there. It was quite hilarious, by the way.
It's good to be back. Sri Lanka's origins are documented in the Mahavamsa, the Great Chronicle, and Kulavamsa, the Lesser Chronicle, with the first king in the 5th century BC to the British occupation in 1825. Within that time, it's also speculated that Sri Lanka might have the world's first hospital. And of course, with religion comes religious festivals and celebrations. Sri Lanka is actually the country with the second most public holiday after Cambodia. Every full moon, or Poya, is considered a holiday. Each full moon represents a different story for Buddha. For the Hindu community, there are tons of distinct festivals and celebrations too. The most notable one probably being the Kavadi, or burden dance. Viewer discretion advised. This is a ceremonial sacrifice and offering practiced by Hindu devotees of Lord Murugan, the god of war, and the goddess Kali, the destroyer. Worshippers honor the deities by enduring pain in a variety of ways.
Wow.
And for the extreme, some may receive body piercings and suspensions by hooks penetrating the skin on the back. If you're into art, you'll be pleased to find tons of Indian-era murals dating back to the 15th century. And just because it's kind of my thing, here's a bit of cinematic backstory. Dating back to the first Sinhalese film in 1947, Sri Lanka has seen its moments in the entertainment industry. Sri Lanka was also the setting for many Hollywood blockbusters, like The Bridge Over River Kwai and Indiana Jones Temple.
Yes, I know about the Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. It was shot at Sri Lanka. Definitely, I reacted to this a while back too.
But if you guys want to learn more about film and culture and
Filmography
history
Now.
film in Sri Lanka, go follow the Filmography Now YouTube channel. Hannah has a spin-off. And in these films, there's a lot of historical music. And with that, if Keith's even here, I really hope he's not.
Music of Sri Lanka. One thing is for sure, Sri Lanka loves drums. Everything from the Udeki drum to the demon drum. The country is known for having 3 unique dance styles: the low country dance, the devil dance, and the candy style. There was a period in time when African slaves came over and played a major role in creating Bela.
Baila. It's okay, just
Baila.
This is probably the most popular music style in Sri Lanka, and it's played at everything from special occasions, weddings. This dude is probably the most well-known guy who
Wali or Vali Bastians.
helped create Bela. From there, Sri Lanka evolved its music industry into the 20th century and the 21st century. Sri Lankan artists and bands arose through the times from radio. There will be a list right here, presenteth list. Yes, even English female rapper MIA is Sri Lankan, yes. If you're Sri Lankan, let us know in the comment section down below what you think should be included in what we should know about Sri Lankan music. By the way, Hannah's new YouTube channel, Filmography Now.
Speaking about Sri Lankan music, that was the very first thing that introduced me to Sri Lanka. Watching and reacting to The Voice Sri Lanka, actually.
It's kind of cool. You should probably go check it out, even though I hate Hannah.
Thank you, Keith. This is my Tupac of Sri Lanka. That's Clarence Vijayavardhan. He is considered the king of Sri Lanka.
Oh, wow.
And then you got the Amaradev, Nanda Malini. I'm telling y'all, man, we still haven't even tapped into 1% of the total potential of our music.
As you can see, Sri Lanka has a lot to show the world with their culture and tradition. And with that, let's see how the rest of the world responds to Sri Lanka's colors in our final segment,
Friend Zone.
Much of Sri Lanka's history was already intertwined with international interaction.
You don't get the nickname the Pearl of the Indian Ocean by accident.
For one, Sri Lanka has stated multiple times that it takes specific non-aligned foreign policies and does not take sides with major world powers and pursues friendship with all. On that note, much of the government might say China is closed due to the many loans and investments that have been given to them. However, like many other small developing nations, Sri Lankans are keeping a close eye on these acts. Many Sri Lankans move to Australia for studies and work, especially in Melbourne, which has the largest Sri Lankan community community out of any city in Australia. Indonesia and Singapore offer visa-free visits to Sri Lankans, and many of the Tamil Sri Lankans have family with the Tamil community in Singapore. Now, you would think that as their closest neighbor, relations with India would be super close, but it's a little complicated. It's more like a love-hate relationship that they've had for thousands of years. Yes, in a sense, both the Sinhalese and Tamils have roots in India, and yes, they owe the introduction of Buddhism to India via the Ashoka Empire, and yes, India tried to help sort out the civil war, even though Rajiv Gandhi was assassinated by the Tamil Tigers on the process. Nonetheless, much of the diplomacy is rooted in aid that India provides, and of course, Sri Lankans love things like Bollywood films and Indian cultural imports. They just, really hate the Indian cricket team. Pakistan has always been a closer ally, as Sri Lanka kind of acted like a transit point between West and East Pakistan, which is now Bangladesh, during the Indo-Pak wars of the 60s and 70s, as Indian airspace was closed to them. Pakistan, in return, has supplied much of Sri Lanka's armed forces with military equipment and has helped them during Civil War time.
I absolutely love this graphic representation, of the history. The relationships among the other countries, with Sri Lanka.
In the end, though, interestingly enough, one country that seems to pop out in many Sri Lankans' minds when asked which country is closest to them would be the Maldives. As island nations in the Indian Ocean heavily dependent on maritime trade and culture, the two instantly click on almost any diplomatic level. The heads of states have visited each other to discuss bilateral relations and interests. The Maldivian Defense Force is trained by Sri Lanka's military. Over half of Maldives' exports go to Sri Lanka. Many Maldivian tour operators are located in Sri Lanka with travel packages, including both countries, and they even share an underwater fiber optic cable for joint telecommunication service. Overall, these two countries work together very well and understand each other probably better than anyone else.
Besties.
Alright, and in conclusion, obviously, Janil, I think you should take this. I'm out. So something that I want y'all to know, man, our bounce back game is super strong. People try to take over our country thousands of years ago. And then we had civil war going on. The tsunami hit. We bounced back from that too. And it's depicted in so many areas of who we are. We never stood down. We always rose. Well said, Janil. I love that. Alright, and with that, what's next country, Janil? We're going to talk about Sudan, baby. Next one coming up. Get ready. Stay tuned.
Oh wow, okay. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, guys, or if you're still on the live chat, thank you so much for staying up until the end of the video. I absolutely love Sri Lanka, and from in his conclusion he mentioned that Sri Lankans are extremely resilient people, and of course very, very friendly as well. I know I have not met one Sri Lankan personally, but of course, judging and reading from your comments on my Sri Lankan videos for the past year or so, I can very much tell that you are. So thank you so much for all your support, you guys. I'll let you watch this Geography Now Sri Lankan YouTube video on the description box. So I don't know what I'm saying. What I'm trying to say here is that please support this channel, because I absolutely find this YouTube channel really, really cool. I have watched most other videos from Geography Now, all the countries, and I was just waiting for their Sri Lankan video, and that is what we just watched. So enjoy the rest of your day, and yeah, take care. Cheers. Bye.